Sergeant Rebel, and Phil Larson. Looking for a motion to approve the minutes from the City Council meeting held on Monday, January 6, 2025. Before that motion is made, I'd like to make one correction to the meeting minutes under liquor bills. It should reflect $22,720.32. And with that correction, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Councilor DeWall made a motion. Is there a second? Second by Councilor Johnson. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Looking for a motion to approve tonight's agenda. Again, before making that motion, I'd like to make one correction under members' concerns. Strike Councilor Reuter and insert Councilor Peterson. After that correction, entertain a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
So moved. Second.
Councilor Peterson made the motion, seconded by Councilor Benson. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Brings us to comments and suggestions from the citizens present or watching from home. The public comment and suggestion period of this meeting is when the City Council offers a time for everyone in attendance or watching from home to address City Council. Once we move on from the public comment and suggestion period of the meeting, members of the public will no longer be allowed to address the council unless the mayor acknowledges you. As a general rule, the council will listen to all comments but are not required to comment on or respond to any speakers. If you'd like to address City Council during the public comment and suggestion period of the meeting, please come forward to the podium or dial 218-628-6268. Before you begin, please state your name and address for the meeting minutes. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Anyone addressing the City Council will be prohibited from using obscene, profane, or threatening language or boisterous conduct that disrupts the meeting or the security of the public. Is there anyone at this time that is interested in participating in the public comment and suggestion period of the meeting? Please come forward to the podium or again dial 218-628-6268, and we'll give that about a minute.
Phil Larson, Citizen City Proctor. My favorite topic here under unfinished business, blight. It's been, what, 2 or 3 years now, same residents. And I just wondering, without a lot of smoke and mirrors, could somebody tell me what's going on with it? I mean, we got snow plowing ordinances. They're not supposed to be parked on the road. Their yard is so full of garbage, spare old tires, unlicensed cars, old lumber, wood, cut wood, you know, that's in the right-of-way. I know that's in the alley right-of-way. We got snow removal ordinance that they're not enforcing. We got a building ordinance code also, I believe, with siding, a structure that is supposed to be sided after a certain amount of time. None of which any of this stuff has been enforced. I know we got new legal now, and I was just wondering, can anybody tell me, without a lot of smoke and mirrors, what is going on with that property?
Well, thank you, Phil. I was going to actually pull 5A under the consent agenda as well, but since you brought it up, maybe Attorney Hanka can give us an update.
If I can get my mute off, I think I did. Thank you. So yeah, as you mentioned, we are relatively, my office is relatively new as city attorney. We're getting up to speed. Our first task was tackling some revisions to the zoning code, which we've now completed. We do have a draft of a blight ordinance that we are working on. It's not ready for prime time yet. That said, there are some other tools that a city can use for nuisance properties, and actually some state statutes. So I think maybe report to administration your concerns with these properties and the addresses, and maybe I can take a look to see if there are existing tools that we can use without a new ordinance to gain enforcement.
Yeah, well, I think there is. I think we have tools to do it. One of them is our snow removal ordinance or wintertime snow emergency roads. They're not enforcing that. They're parking on the road. They don't have no place, the street department don't have no place to push the snow there. So that's one. Why can't we just enforce that one? And then the other one is unfinished garage, you know, that's supposed to be finished, it don't have no doors in it, it's not all sided or, you know. And then the lumber and the right of way, these are all, I would think, enforceable items, are they not?
I'm not exactly sure which property you're referring to, but I can talk to some of the staff folks and we can review some of your complaints.
I've been here several times, and I know my neighbors have been here also complaining about this over the years, and it's been years now, it's been at least 4.
Oh, it's been 9, 10 years.
You know, they've had contaminated waste there, barrels of oil, and that the city has had to deal with. I mean, is there no way of correcting it, or is it just something I have to live with?
Well, certainly something I can look into.
Well, I wish you would, I really would, and I'll be back here in 3 months, and maybe then we'll have an update on it, huh? And then I have one more question, it was under bills, on boiler filters. I've never seen any boiler filters, I'd like to see them. If they had, I've never seen a boiler with a boiler filter. So, it's just interesting now if you could get back to me on that, Jess.
I can probably tell you, she just probably named it wrong. They're probably filters for the air handling units.
That I don't believe. Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, are you still going to pull?
I can if you'd like me to.
Yeah.
Okay. No other questions, comments, concerns? We'll move on. Looking for a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda. I will still pull 5A, City of Proctor Blight Policy, and I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Support.
Council DeWall supported that. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. That will bring us to 5A, City of Proctor Blight Policy. Councilor DeWall.
I just wanted to summarize for our citizen here, the 3 areas that he's talking about on this property that I believe we have ordinances for. Licensed vehicle, current tabs registration, licensed vehicle would be one. Road right-of-way, which follows underneath the snow ordinance. And then siding or unfinished garage, there's X amount of days that might have to run through planning and zoning. But I believe those are the 3 areas that we have in place to target something for a cleanup.
Right away on the alleyway, I'm sure it's in the right away there.
Yeah, it would be I'm referring to both right-of-ways, on the street and the alley.
We won't add properties, but if you want to get a hold of Administrator Rich, most definitely.
I just wanted to summarize quick so that you have something to go off of.
Any further discussion on that? Attorney Hanka, do you have any idea when we could see a finished draft on that?
Well, I think what we're looking at, Mr. Mayor, is how we want to work it into the zoning ordinance and whether we want to work it into the zoning ordinance or have it be a separate ordinance.
Okay.
And there were also some questions that the attorney who's working on it at my office had for staff and probably ultimately council on how we want the mechanics to work.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll move on to 6A. Proctor Fire Department pay and officer stipend pay. In your packet, and I see Chief Helquist is here, but in your packet was a request from Chief Helquist and the Proctor Fire Department for the recommended budgeted 2025 call pay and officer stipend. As you can see in your packet, it was a recommended 2% increase, correct? For the per call, and I'll let Chief Helquist take it from there.
So on that, the 2% is what we've been talking about for the last 5 years, I believe. That kind of just takes place. But on the officer stipend pay, we haven't had a raise in that in 7 years. And with all the new stuff and all the new training and all the stuff that me and the assistant chiefs are going to, it's creating more work for everybody. And I believe what the pay is in that packet, the increase.
It is.
I believe. I didn't see what
It is.
I mean, I know what is in my phone, but I didn't see what's in your packet, but that's what we're looking for, is to make it a little easier to stomach going to, I mean, I go to Virginia 8 times a year. I have no choice. That's part of the mandatory Chiefs Association that we have to attend, or if I can't go, I get to do it on Zoom. So, then obviously with the added reports for the secretary and the treasurer, that's why they got their increase also.
And then that, excuse me, that 2% is just on the per call, correct?
The per call, yep. Yeah.
Excluding medicals.
No, that goes on to the medical also.
Yeah, looks like at the bottom there it has medical listed.
What does?
And just a side note, 21st of January, I should have known, that's my daughter's birthday. We've had 42 calls since January 1. So they ain't slowing down. And we had a record-setting year last year.
All right, any questions for Chief Elquist on the proposed volunteer fire department pay effective 1/1/25?
Just one that, blanket, this was already in the budget for this year.
Yeah, it's what Leslie and I and Jess put in going through the 2012 working changeable budget. It was in that back in December, whatever that meeting was.
Any other discussion? If not, we'll entertain a motion to accept the 2025 volunteer fire department call and stipend increases as presented.
I'll move.
Counselor Benson made the motion. Is there a second? Second by Counselor Johnson. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Brings us to 6B, Resolution 05-25, State of Minnesota BCA Joint Powers Agreement. Again, in your packet is a annual thing that we look at as a council. This is State of Minnesota BCA Joint Powers Agreement. Looking for a motion to approve Resolution 05-25. I'll make that motion if there's a second.
Second.
Second by Counselor DeWall. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. Brings us to 6C, Resolution 06-25, 2026 LCCMR funding application. So in your packet again is LCCMR grant funding request for the 3rd Street Park project. Is there a motion to approve Resolution 06-25? I'll make that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Counselor Benson. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. 6D, Resolution 07-25, Wetland Conservation Act Professional Services Agreement. Again, in your packet is a Wetland Conservation Act Professional Service Agreement. It looks like it increased $1,000 this year from $100 from $1,500 to $1,600. Looking for a motion to approve Resolution 07-25.
So moved.
Counselor Peterson made the motion. Is there a second? I'll second that. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. 6E, Technology, Communication Devices, Chairs, and Miscellaneous Items. Counselor DeWall.
Just wanted to bring this to council. We've been having, well, some of us have city computers, some of us don't. Some of us have been having issues with them intermittently. I know I'm working on one I got way back in 2017 or whatever it was. They were Black Friday Chromebook. I don't even know if they're on our inventory anymore. But I think we should update to some kind of a simple HP laptop, something to handle city function, city business with. So I'm bringing it up to the group so that we're not using our personal stuff. I think our attorney would probably advise not to do that. But I would think there'd be something, I don't know if we go through in Intrigus, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, where it gets, I'd like to see something done, you know, like our staff we have everything in inventory. When there's an update, it gets updated. Not necessarily the hardware has to be replaced, but things get updated. But it might make sense the way technology is going to just get on board with something like that and then have it in the inventory so that when new council people come, mayors, we have something in place, so it's just a plug and play. And I was thinking more of an HP. It's easier for me to handle, but something that can do emails, you can do budgets, spreadsheets, Word, Microsoft. I guess you'd have a Microsoft Office, which would cover Excel, Word, and then email obviously would be important. So bring it to the group. I think it's a small price to pay to keep us streaming ahead. And I don't know, I haven't shopped for one, but I would think somewhere between $300 and $500 you can find we don't need a Cadillac, we're not, something that has some interface capability wirelessly. That's on the computers.
You heard Councilor DeWell's concerns regarding the computers. What's council's opinion on all of that? I'm in agreement with them. I mean, Councilor Peterson's using a personal one, Councilor Benson's using a personal one, I'm using a personal one. I think you're the only one that doesn't have issues with yours.
And mine's, the city owns mine, so can you see my code on the other side of my?
So I would be okay with having Mr. Rich look into doing something like that so we can all get a city computer to do city business. Councilor Benson?
Being a Mac guy, my learning curve will probably be a little more extensive than the rest.
Maybe. Do you want to make a motion to do what you are asking?
I'll make a motion to direct Administrator Rich to come up with a proposal on 5 new laptops to be presented to next council meeting. You know, some price points, working with our existing IT department and outside if needed, or using IT from the police department might be another resource to get something a little more reasonable, but that's my motion, so that next meeting we could make a final decision depending on what it costs.
You heard Councilor DeWell's motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Is that Councilor Peterson? Councilor Peterson seconds that. Any further discussion?
Can I also throw in there that if we're getting new ones, I know for myself, I'm probably gonna need some training too. With that, just being honest about that. And then I also wanna ask the question to Administrator Rich, is our staff up to date on, you know, computers and stuff like that? Is that something that we should be looking at also?
We currently go through a quarterly business plan review with Integris to keep every computer and operating system up to date. So they are a budgeted item and go in the regular budget.
Thank you.
And Councilor Johnson, it's been my experience, the HP laptop will be a lot more user-friendly than your Chromebook. For me, it was anyway, but,
I've got an HP, so,
okay.
or excuse me, the city has an HP.
Right. So, any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Councilor DeWall, did you have more?
Yeah, once upon a time ago, we had talked about chairs, updating the chairs in chambers. I noticed that we updated them in our conference room when we repainted and did a door for food shelf, etc. This room gets used a lot for various committees, commissions, planning and zoning, etc., PETA. I would like to replace these chairs and be done with it. And if there isn't enough money in the operating budget, then at least have the conference room chairs here and put these in there. So, I don't know where we got those chairs. But if we could look at something for an upgrade. Like I said, it's more than just council in here. Various committees, commissions, but it'd be nice to get a chair that doesn't go down every 2 minutes.
Do you want to make that into an official?
So I'll make a motion to direct Administrator Rich to, once again, bring back a proposal for updating chairs by next meeting.
You heard Councilor DeWall's motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Johnson. Any further discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Councilor DeWall, do you have more?
I have one more, that I'm looking for legal to chime in on this. I know we're supposed to conduct business with city equipment. What is your recommendation for phones?
I don't know that I have a specific recommendation on phones. You know, I'd have to do a little research to see if there's any, Data Practices Act concerns, if you're doing city business and somebody requests copies of communications or phone bills. Off the top of my head, I don't think there's a legal concern with using a personal cell phone for city business, as long as you're able to preserve your call records and things through your provider, your cell phone provider. And I think it's similar with a personal computer. I think the only time that would come into play is if somebody has a data practices request or we're in litigation and people want to see the records. As long as you're able to maintain those records through your private service provider, I don't see a legal concern. Does that answer your question?
Sort of, yeah.
Okay.
We spoke with Integris about this and asked for their solutions. And their solutions were either you carry a separate city-issued cell phone, which is property of the city of Proctor, or, as Attorney Hinka said, you maintain your records so they can easily be accessed. The only time that someone would take your phone, like in the case of the police department, is if it were subpoenaed. The other option, right now, the city policy is either there's a city-issued phone for employees and the employee has to carry 2 phones, or you get a stipend towards your personal phone.
Yeah, and in my case, and I'm sure Councilor Peterson may have very similar, I already carry a second phone because I can't use my other phone that I have, which is also a work phone, right, for city business. So
Right.
I carry a second phone that has all my city emails that go right to it. But I'm sure you'll run into that as well.
So from a practicality standpoint, it might be easier to have a separate device for city business, so you don't have to go through and redact all your personal information from if there's a records request, but I don't think there's a legal requirement to have a second device for only city work.
I don't think there's a legal requirement to have a second device, but there could be a legal issue if you're using one device for a business and then combining multiple sources of work, like city business versus proprietary business. I know most employers, as I learned at our last meeting, their boss was like, yeah, you can use it for personal all day long. And then he mentioned city, and the boss said, no, you can't use it for city. You can't use a phone for city, you can't use a laptop, because it is proprietary information to the company. But if he wanted to use it to set a cruise or trip to Bahamas, no problem, look at Facebook, whatever, but when it came to that, he was instructed no. So it's, and we've been down this road, and I just want to make sure that we're doing things the right way, whatever that may be. And maybe it's just simply, hey, gotta send me an email on it.
I think one of the things with our data is, barring very few things, all of the data that you send and you receive is public information anyways. So it's, other than attorney-client privilege or some maybe employee discipline, but then we mark those rather clearly in correspondence. So whether it's on your personal device or a city device, people have a right to that information.
Yes, I agree. Yep. And it sounds like, at least with your example, it sounds like that was more of an employer policy. You know, they were concerned about their business proprietary information becoming public through a city process.
Well, and I'll speak candidly about my situation, right? When I was first elected in 19, I was told by my employer, you gotta get a separate cell phone because you're not gonna have our computers or cell phones subpoenaed for city business. That's why I have 2 different computers, 2 different cell phones. So I try and keep them separated.
Yeah.
That's where the issue comes. If I'm getting phone calls or texts or emails sent to my employer phone, it becomes an issue, right? Where hopefully everyone just sends that to the city phone or my personal phone that I use for city business. But when there's confusion of which one you should use, that's where it becomes a liability.
Well, there certainly would be added work for redaction, you know, if it's going to a personal phone or a business phone. You know, it's going to create more work for the lawyers to go through and redact things that aren't relevant to the public data request. So that's why I mentioned from a practicality standpoint, maybe it does make sense to have separate devices, but as far as the legal concern,
Yeah.
you know, there are ways to filter that information.
And I'm just speaking about myself, but I'm sure there's others up here that own companies or have
Right.
similar jobs as me
Right.
or that it can affect.
Don't want information about their businesses, don't even want the chance of having that information become public. That makes sense.
All right, so we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any other discussion? Or no, we didn't have a motion on that one. Is any other discussion on that? Any motions that need to be made?
If we did look into that avenue, I wanted to make sure that it's financially feasible, and, to have a phone sit around 99% of the time, just want to make sure that we're doing it, if there's a minutes per month or minutes till they run out kind of thing, because obviously I haven't gotten many calls yet, but I just want to make sure it's feasible.
Good point. Any other discussion?
I'm just trying to make it easier so that if something ever had to be released, it's easier for me to go through without a whole bunch of redacting. Hopefully never have to get to that point, but if I did, it's much easier to say, here you go, take it. Here you go, take it. So until we come to some kind of a consensus, I might just lean more towards sending an email. That way I'm keeping track of it on this system. We have tons of phones. We have plans. Just about every employee gets a stipend on a phone. I don't want to be one to carry 2 phones, but I agree with you. How often are you going to use it? Depends. You being new, not very much, but as you get in to more veteran type years, there's a lot of people that call your phone for whatever is coming up because that's the number they know. So I wasn't really looking for any motion on that. I just wanted to get a legal perspective, get it kind of out there. My inclination right now is just to start with the computer device because I know that has to be done, and I think that's a much simpler thing to do right now.
I would agree. Any other thought on that by council? Hearing none? Was that everything, Councilor? We'll move on to members' concerns. Councilor Peterson.
I just wanted to make sure everybody stays warm and to check on your neighbors, especially if you have elderly neighbors. these cold temperatures are really hard on pets too. And I do want to congratulate junior Chloe Carlson and her Minnesota State Tribune Player of the Week and the high school girls basketball team for starting the season 16-1.
Thank you. Counselor DeWall.
Nothing.
Thank you. Counselor Johnson.
Nothing.
You're up.
I have two things. 12 days ago, I sat in my front room, seeing this fire truck at least 80 miles an hour going up the road. And I was going, wow, something's going on. This dog came down the road and my dog went crazy. But to see how our fire department, under the direction of Chief Hellquist, I think I counted 14 trucks there from 5 different areas around us, Hermantown, the air base, Solway, and Kenosha. I think I hit them all. Hermantown. Oh, Hermantown. Sorry. Yeah, Hermantown was there too. And it was about 2:15, maybe 2:30, right in there when all of this happened. And the police were there. And to find out that Chief Hellquist and Dan Mosier broke down the door, the dog got loose. There were community members on Facebook saying where the dog was, and the dog must have put on 10 miles. It was up at the fairground. It went across Highway 2. And then it was over with at 5:30. And our city crews came up there with salt and sand to take care of the water and the ice and all that stuff. But to see our city react the way they did, nobody was home except for the dog. Oh, and there was a rabbit too. I'm sorry, a rabbit. And talking to the Trushes, and I went up there and drove by because I offered, we have 2 extra bedrooms and they got 3 kids and all that stuff, and they appreciated it and everything. But just to see the whole system work was really, really cool. And thank you and your guys and the police department for all of that. It was like, why do we buy these $500,000 vehicles or 3/4 of them? That's why. To save our homes when something happens. So it was really cool to sit there and be proud of all of you guys and what you did. And it was cool. It really was. And Jake had to get there to get his pictures and all that stuff and everything, but no, it was way cool. But I wanted to say that. The other thing is, I'm wondering as a council, do we need to have quarterly meetings with our department heads here to report to us on good things, bad things, of how things are going and all that? And I'm, I bring up the police department with their comp time and all that stuff. Can we see that stuff happening ahead of time so that at the end of the year, it doesn't happen? And would them quarterly reports by our department heads here help us out with that stuff? Or with equipment or whatever it may be? So we can see ahead of time what's going on. And I'm just throwing that out for discussion, and it doesn't have to happen now, but I'm just trying to take care of some of these little problems that we have, especially at the end of the year.
So I'll hit on that. You and I spoke, I don't know, a month ago now, but I brought that up to you that I think we should have department heads here on a quarterly basis to kind of see what you guys have been up to. And, you know, most other communities where I've attended city council meetings, Silver Bay, Babbitt, Two Harbors, St. Louis County does. They have their department heads at pretty much every meeting, and I don't think we need to do every meeting, but 4 times a year, I don't think would hurt. Get them in the room and give updates on how their department is, what they're needing, what they're excelling at, you know, give kudos and then some input on what maybe we could do to help make their lives easier. I think that would be beneficial for all. But there's another option too, after you and I spoke, Counselor. We could always try pre-agenda meetings as well, where we could do it prior to this meeting with our department heads and do a pre-agenda meeting. But I don't know what's gonna work for council, but it's a good topic, and I think we should maybe look into it in the near future.
And I don't know, Administrator Rich, maybe I'm crazy, I don't know, but I just think communication, sometimes we don't do the best at some of that. That's my thought.
So, I don't, Counselor.
Just 2 things. On the police thing, the council's already requested a report every quarter for the unused time. So that is already enacted, but I would concur that it would be good, you know, pick maybe right after the end of the quarter. So if the quarter ends March, have the departments, they have 2 meetings to pick to come, you know, pick a meeting, come. It would be nice to maybe split it up a titch so that we're not inundating everyone here for a long stay, but split it up. If we have 6 department heads, have 3 come the first meeting in April and have 3 come the second. But I would propose that we add that as an agenda item for our next meeting so that we can make a recommendation and direct our city administrator to see which works better as far as having them come for a pre-agenda meeting or just have them come to council the month immediately following the quarter.
And just for legal here, can we make directives under members' concerns, or should a counselor contact Administrator Rich after the meeting? Ask, hey, I'd like to put this on. I mean, now we're outside of, you know, the agenda items. Would it be better for a counselor to reach out to her after the meeting and say, I'd like this on our next agenda?
Yeah.
Or can we do it right now?
Mr. Mayor, I think either way is probably fine,
Okay.
as long as it's communicated.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
So either way.
I kind of already stated what I stated. I'd like to see it on our agenda next meeting so that we can actually make a decision on it. A discussion and then perhaps a decision.
I like it.
And I would add, when you put that on the agenda, you know, pre-agenda meeting / quarterly department head meeting, whatever, however you want to, but I kind of like the idea of a pre-agenda meeting. Councilor Benson?
Would it conflict with any contract language?
I don't think so, because they're all being compensated for their time. I guess we'd have to look at that, but sitting here right now, I wouldn't think it would. Negotiating committee?
I don't think there's anything, you kind of give them, some people would rather come this time, some people would rather come during the day. You give them, as long as they're equal opportunity of option A, option B, I don't see anything that would go against any of our bargaining tools. And like anything, we already have people come here that are not associated, but I mean, that's the whole purpose of flex time.
Thank you.
I'm done.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Benson?
I have nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. I just got a couple things. Friday, January 31st, Megan, I believe, sent out an email last week maybe. There's going to be a Coalition of Greater Minnesota Cities webinar. That's starting at 10 a.m. So anyone interested, please register for that. A reminder, I know it was under Clerk Advises Council, but Police Civil Service meeting with the City Council will be next meeting, Monday, February 3rd, 2025, starting at 5:15. And that is all I have.
I have something if I can jump in on the members' concerns.
Chief Elquist.
I just want to thanks to Rory and you guys for actually acknowledging what we did. It was some serious stuff happening that day. But since that day, our mutual aid with Duluth, which has been in the works for probably 18 months, actually went into effect the day after that. And since then, we've had 2 structure fires, and 8 Quint out of West Duluth was actually first on the scene at McDonald's on Sunday night.
Did you have
So-
one today too, I saw, or today or yesterday?
Yeah, we had one over on the west side, we had McDonald's, but we've had 3 structure fires since January 1st also, so. The idea of what we do and what people see, you know, it's always a bad day when the big red trucks are showing up. So it's pretty cool to be recognized and thanked, and I know the guys at the fire hall will definitely appreciate that. But the biggest thing I wanted you guys to know is on that deal, when it started looking like it was gonna be really bad, and I reached out to Kenosha, it's a long way. So this mutual aid partnership with Duluth, so far, it's working awesome.
Good.
I just wanna let you guys know that we finally, after 18 months, have it set up and going.
Good, nice work. Thank you. Chief Gaius.
Just kind of want to reiterate what Rory brought up about the meetings. I'm very want that, to sit there and be able to talk to you guys and work through things instead of discussing kind of things out in the open like this, but get it out first and talk about things and do that, and I would look forward to that. So just want to be a positive on those meetings.
Thank you. Awesome. Thanks.
Thanks.
Attorney Hank.
Nothing from me, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Garrett.
I just wanted to do a follow-up with the Kingsbury Creek restoration project. Today I had a meeting with the MPCA and the Soil Water Conservation District, and this project is ending up to be about a $1.3 million project for Proctor, all of which we've received outside funding for, all the way down to the stormwater improvements that we need to do to our golf course runoff. And the agencies today was with the 569 program out of Detroit, and it's I think it's going to be, it is a very nice project for the city of Proctor.
Oh, it looked like it on that info you supplied us. So thank you for that. Any questions regarding that? Hearing none. Thank you. If there's nothing else, we'll entertain a motion to pay the bills in the amount of $191,390.85.
I'll make that motion.
Councilor Johnson made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor DeWall. Any discussion? Just a follow-up on that invoice 1-1350424-508. Could you get us an update on that as well? Bill Larson brought it up earlier, but it was also in my notes on the filters.
Do you want to know what they're specifically for? They were for
Yeah,
air
what-
handlers.
It was for the air handlers for sure? Okay.
That would make sense.
It would. But I just want to make sure that's what it was. Cool. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. Looking for a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Councilor DeWall made a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? I'll second that. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. Thank you.